A strong service deliverable does more than list activities. It shows the recipient's goal, the intervention provided, the recipient's response, whether the intervention worked, and what happens next. Fila Health Systems of NC, PHSNC, provides peer support services organized around 8 primary life domains: employment, general health, housing, money management, education, transportation, legal, and high-risk substance use. Staff should generally focus on one primary life domain at a time through the goal or goals identified in the recipient's PCP or treatment plan. One domain, one clear goal, purposeful interventions, measurable progress. Another domain may be addressed only when it is a direct barrier to the primary goal. For example, employment may be the primary domain, while transportation is addressed because it prevents the recipient from attending interviews. The service deliverable is built around 5 key steps. Step 1, identify the domain and goal. Step 2, review the previous assign. Step 1, identify the domain and goal. This step takes approximately 15 minutes. Begin the session by identifying the primary life domain, the PCP or treatment plan goal, the current barrier the recipient is facing, and the desired outcome for this session. Use open, collaborative questions, such as, what goal would be most helpful to work on today? What has been preventing progress? What would you like to accomplish during this session? Here is an employment example. Employment was identified as the primary life domain. The session was connected to the recipient's PCP goal of obtaining employment. The recipient reported that anxiety about online applications was preventing progress. Now compare 2 documentation approaches. Weak. Staff talked with the recipient about jobs. Strong. Staff and the recipient identified employment as the primary domain and online application anxiety as the current barrier. The difference is specificity. The strong example tells us the domain, the barrier, and the connection to the plan. Step 2. Review the previous assignment. This step takes approximately 15 minutes. Staff should review what was attempted, what was completed, what worked, what barriers occurred, and whether the assignment should be adjusted. Important: an incomplete assignment should never result in criticism. A missed assignment is information. Here is a housing example. The recipient did not contact the housing program because they were unsure what to say. Staff identified the barrier and determined that a telephone script and role play were needed. The missed assignment revealed exactly what the next intervention should be. Step 3. Work the interventions. This is the main portion of the service, typically lasting 1 to 3 hours. Interventions should be pre-coordinated through the PCP or treatment plan. They may include skill building, modeling, role play, recovery education, problem solving, coping skills practice, checklists, budgets, action plans, and community resource navigation. The intervention cycle is provide, observe, evaluate, adjust, or reinforce. The job of the peer support specialist is not simply to provide the intervention. The PSS must identify whether the intervention is working as planned. The PSS should observe the recipient's understanding, participation, confidence, skill demonstration, continued barriers, need for additional support, and their ability to complete the task with less prompting. An intervention may be effective, partially effective, or ineffective. When an intervention works, reinforce it. When it does not work, adjust the method while remaining connected to the approved goal. Possible adjustments include breaking the task into smaller steps, slowing down, using simpler language, providing a visual guide, modeling the skill again, using role play, increasing practice, or connecting the intervention to lived experience. Now let us look at the main scenario. A recipient is working toward the employment domain goal of obtaining a job. The planned intervention is employment application skill building. Staff creates a checklist and models how to complete one section of the application. The recipient completes the contact information section successfully. However, when asked to explain an employment gap, anxiety increases and progress stalls. The intervention was partially effective. The checklist improved organization, but it did not address the recipient anxiety about explaining the gap. Staff adjusts the intervention. Together, they create a strengths-based explanation for the employment gap and practice it through role play. The recipient practices 3 times and returns to the application. The adjusted intervention was effective. The recipient completed the employment history section and submitted the application with minimal prompting. Document what changed, why it changed, and how the recipient responded. Now let us briefly review how interventions are adjusted across all 8 life domains. General health. Goal: attend medical appointments consistently. Barrier: the recipient forgets appointments. Adjustment: add telephone reminders alongside a written calendar. Housing. Goal: contact housing providers. Barrier: anxiety about making calls. Adjustment: create a script, model the call, and practice together. Money management. Goal: develop a weekly budget. Barrier: difficulty separating needs from wants. Adjustment: use a visual worksheet with real spending examples. Education. Goal: enroll in vocational training. Barrier: the enrollment process feels overwhelming. Adjustment: divide enrollment into one step at a time. Transportation. Goal: arrive at appointments on time. Barrier: difficulty calculating pickup times. Adjustment: use a visual planning worksheet. Legal. Goal: comply with court or probation requirements. Barrier: the recipient knows the date but not the required actions. Adjustment: create a checklist of dates, contacts, and required documents. High-risk substance use. Goal: reduce high-risk use and strengthen recovery supports. Barrier: the recipient identifies triggers but has no alternatives. Adjustment: develop a written coping and support plan. Step 4. Review the session. This step takes approximately 15 minutes. At the end of the session, staff should ask, what did you learn? Which intervention was most helpful? What was difficult? How confident are you that you can use this skill independently? Did we address today's goal? Compare these 2 documentation examples. Weak: the session went well. Strong: the recipient reported that the checklist reduced feelings of being overwhelmed and demonstrated the ability to complete an application section independently. Documentation must include the recipient's feedback and observable progress, not just a general impression. Step 5. Provide an independent assignment. This step takes approximately 15 minutes. The assignment should be connected to the goal, based on the intervention practiced, realistic, measurable, clearly understood by the recipient, and reviewed at the next session. Compare these examples. Weak: apply for jobs. Strong: before the next session, the recipient will use the checklist to submit one job application and record any barriers. Second example. Weak: work on budgeting. Strong: the recipient will track purchases for 5 days and label each purchase as a need or a want. Before closing the session, ask the recipient to repeat the assignment in their own words. This confirms understanding and increases accountability. Here's the documentation formula. Use this structure to guide your notes after each session. Staff and the recipient identified the primary life domain and connected it to the PCP or treatment plan goal. Staff reviewed the previous assignment. The recipient reported what was attempted and what occurred. Staff provided the planned intervention. The recipient responded by demonstrating, practicing, or engaging with the material. The intervention was effective, partially effective, or ineffective, and here is why. Staff adjusted or reinforced the intervention based on what was observed. The recipient reported what they learned. Before the next session, the recipient will complete the agreed-upon independent assignment. This formula keeps documentation purposeful, observable, and connected to the plan. Now let us look at 4 common documentation errors and how to correct them. Error 1. Activity without purpose. Weak: staff took the recipient to the library. Strong: to address the employment goal, staff used the library computer to teach job search skills. The strong version connects the activity to a goal. Error 2. No recipient response. Weak: staff taught budgeting. Strong: the recipient categorized 8 of 10 expenses correctly. The strong version shows what the recipient actually did. Error 3. No evidence of effectiveness. Weak: the intervention was effective. Strong: the recipient independently completed the task with reduced prompting. The strong version shows observable proof. Error 4. Repeating an ineffective intervention. Weak: staff continued encouraging the recipient to make the call. Strong: staff adjusted the intervention by creating a script and using role play. When something is not working, change the approach. Let us check your understanding with 5 questions. Take a moment to think before the answer is revealed. Question 1. How many primary life domains should generally be addressed in one session? Answer: 1 primary domain unless another domain is a direct barrier to the goal. Question 2. What is the main portion of the service? Answer: providing, observing, evaluating, and adjusting or reinforcing the intervention. Question 3. What should the PSS do when an intervention is not working? Answer: identify the barrier and adjust the intervention to fit the recipient's needs. Question 4. How should effectiveness be demonstrated? Answer: through observable or reported evidence of progress. Question 5. What makes an assignment appropriate? Answer: it is connected to the goal, measurable, realistic, and reinforces the intervention. A strong service deliverable shows purposeful movement toward a PCP or treatment plan goal. Identify the domain and goal. Review the previous assignment. Provide the intervention. Observe the recipient. Evaluate effectiveness. Adjust or reinforce the intervention. Review the session. Assign the next step. 1 domain, 1 goal, 1 purposeful service story. This training was brought to you by Fila Health Systems of NC, helping you live your dreams every day. Think of it as a continuous cycle. Identify, review, intervene, observe, evaluate, adjust, assign.